All right. Hello, and welcome to everybody. Welcome to the virtual match day with Apollo Tires. I'm very excited to be doing this today. Hello to all our regulars in the chat. So, just a quick heads up to begin with. I know a lot of you will have a lot of questions to ask today, lots of chats, lots of super chats. We're going to try to get as many as we can in. I just want to put that out there. And yeah, let's begin. So, good evening. Welcome to the Apollo Tires virtual match day. It's been a very interesting football season for all of us. I think a lot of you who've been following 442 will know that we've been watching football in very different ways to what we normally do. But we want to do something different. We wanted to get the fans involved today, and Apollo Tires has gone the distance to bring Manchester United fans closer. And we've done virtual events like this before. I had the pleasure of having Luis Saha on a couple of months ago as well, and that was a lot of fun. And honestly, it's very interesting. It's an interesting time for us to be doing all this, especially with the COVID situation in India right now. So, and again, we want to ask everyone to please stay safe, and just let's get together and have a good evening sitting at home. So what we're going to do today is very exciting. We're going to have a great experience for you all. We have a chance to go behind the scenes at Old Trafford. We'll see what happens there. We have interviews with a lot of people from the backroom staff, including some very interesting surprises as well. And it's United versus Liverpool today. Also, we have a contest running where you guys can win a signed Manchester United jersey and a Manchester United cap. All you have to do is go to Apollo X Sports on Instagram and follow the page there and take part in the contest, and you can win a signed jersey direct from Manchester United. So just all you have to do is put up a picture of this event, tag it, put a nice caption, be creative, and you could win a jersey. And yeah, so we're going to keep this as interactive as possible. Please send your chats in, please send your opinions in, and we'll try to take as many of those in as possible. So I want to introduce our guest for today without any further ado. We have a gentleman who is a five-time Premier League champion with Manchester United, two Champions Leagues, two FA Cups, including the treble season as well. So Alex Ferguson has called him the most natural defender Manchester United has ever seen in years. And so please welcome onto the screen, onto the stage, whatever we are welcoming people onto these days. But please welcome Wes Brown.
Thank you, Azeem. Hello, good evening, everyone. Let's hopefully we have a good evening and looking forward to all your questions.
Right, brilliant. So, Wes, we were having a little chat beforehand, and I found it amazing. This is a revelation for me that you mentioned that you used to play at right wing when you started your career.
Yeah, I did. I think any young kid sort of wants to be an attacker when they're younger. And like I said, I always loved football. I played every day outside my house, and I just wanted to score goals. You know, everyone wants to score or do skills, so that was probably the reason for that.
All right, and so I mean that was actually before you mentioned this. My first question to you was going to be: would you have ever imagined when you started your career playing at centre half that you would provide an assist in a Champions League final with a cross from your left foot?
100% no. I mean, first of all, to get into a Champions League, that was always a dream. So, but like you said, to set up a goal with my weaker foot, you know, I could have never guessed that.
All right, brilliant. So you've traveled across the world. You've also played in India right now. I mean, well, not right now, but a few years ago. And I'm going to get a few fans on here to discuss your time in India. So we have a few fans from official supporters clubs in India right now, and we're going to get them on the call as well. So if any of you all would like to join in, please raise your hands on the call and we'll get you on. We'll get on Abhishek Fatke and Puneet Khandelwal. In the meanwhile, we'll continue talking to Wes. Um, so let me know what were your thoughts about coming on to India, playing in the Indian Super League, interacting with the fans. What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was very easy, to be fair. I got a call off Rennie Mullenstein, who used to be the coach at Man United, and he said he wanted to try and get me and Berbatov and a goalkeeper called Paulie Chubka. You know, he was all at Man United, and he wanted to get us there and play in India, which to be fair, I'd just finished from Blackburn, and it was a perfect opportunity.
All right. So, I mean, all of us have, I'm going to get the fans on in this. All of us have a lot of match day rituals that we do. For me, it's very simple. It's nothing very, very fancy that I do. Just a nice bag of chips, nice drink, sit in front of the TV and do it. So, Abhishek, what do you do generally on a match day? Since you're a proper, United Supporters Club fan,
Yeah, yeah.
what's your ritual?
My ritual is actually before pandemic, we used to go to the supporters club. There used to be a good screening. We had to have beers and everything. Used to do the chants. That was our ritual. But unfortunately, due to this COVID times, we are just hanging out at our places. So that's my ritual.
All right, great. What about you, Puneet?
For me, basically, it's about calming people down because every time we see the team sheet, everybody gets scared up. Who is not playing? Why is Fred playing every game? Or why is one day week not playing? Just questions like that. Just managing people in the supporters group in Jaipur here. So
Okay.
that's basically what I do before a match.
All right, that seems like more of work than a ritual, if I'm
It is a
being
work.
honest. Yeah, well, that's what you get when you're working with the supporters club. That's great. All right, thank you guys. We're gonna get you off. We'll continue talking to Wes as well. So we keep getting more fans on as and when we can. So a lot of fans always our dream is to go to Old Trafford. I've had the privilege of actually going to Old Trafford and watching a match over there. But for a lot of you who haven't been there, we've got a little surprise for you of not just the fan perspective of Old Trafford, but also the player perspective. So, and it's going to be introduced to you in a video with a very special guest. So let's have that happen right now.
Hello, welcome to Old Trafford. We want to give you a virtual tour of what happens as a player walking into the stadium, and I can do all of that in the company of a legend, Mr. Dennis Irwin. I think it's time for us to get inside, don't you?
Absolutely.
Let's go.
So here we are, home team dressing room. Nerves will be tingling before this. Sat in the corner I was. Peter Schmeichel was there, Gary Neville was next to me, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister.
Right, what we want to do next then is walk through the tunnel and out onto the pitch with you, like you would do on a match day, and pick your brains and learn what that experience was like. So let's go. So we've just left the dressing room and now we're in the tunnel. How would you have been feeling right now lining up?
I just want the game to start. I'm nervous now. You can hear the noise from the crowd. There's a load of announcements going on. But basically you just want the game to start and get your first touch and get on with it, because that's where you feel the most comfortable.
Well, let's now do what you did with so much distinction for so many times and walk out onto the pitch.
Absolutely.
Let's go, Dan. So as you emerged from the tunnel den and the crowd started cheering, how did it feel?
It's amazing, Sully, honestly. I mean, at Old Trafford, theatre of dreams, up against your big rivals, coming out here, it's electric. The crowd are electric, and you can't wait for the game to start. There's nothing can beat that. There really isn't.
Well, here we are on the pitch. You appreciate how good the surface is when you're up close and see it for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Tony, the groundsman's won about 3 of the last 4 years, best pitch quality, and you can see why. It's incredible. I mean, you can't blame a bubble on here, Sully, can you?
Definitely not. That's it for the virtual tour. Thanks, Den, for sharing your experiences with us. Have you enjoyed it?
Absolutely. Great memory, Sully. Great memory.
All right. So, Wes, you've played with Dennis Irwin. What was he like as a character in the dressing room?
Dennis was brilliant. He was one of the older guys when I first started. Very experienced. Every time I watched him play, he'd be so confident. He didn't hardly ever do anything wrong. He plays his position. He could score as well. He took penalties. He took free kicks. These were the guys that I used to look up to and tried to get the same consistency, really.
All right, and we were having a look at Old Trafford. Of course, we've not had fans at Old Trafford this season, but what was it like? I mean, so I want to ask, what's your favorite Old Trafford memory, like the most iconic, memorable match that you've been a part of at Old Trafford, and obviously the experience of and the atmosphere at Old Trafford. And in the meanwhile, while you're answering that, I'm just going to get on a few more fans as well. Again, you can raise your hands. For people who have been to Old Trafford specifically, we want to talk about our experiences at Old Trafford. We have Manoj Lad, who we can get on, and anybody else who's been on. Or should I just yeah, we have Brendan as well, and who else can we get on? Let's get on Akash Kakkar. All right, in the meanwhile, take it away, Wes. Let me know about your experiences at Old Trafford.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I'll mention my debut. I mean, my debut. I talked about it a minute ago. I didn't really get nervous. I was nervous that day. You know, I was a very young lad. Just sort of started training with the first team. Albert will be able to back me up on this, and I didn't really think I'd get to play, if ever, because that's probably how you think as a young lad. But as soon as I went on the subs bench and the manager told me I was coming on, my heart nearly stopped, if I'm being quite honest. And that experience, that noise, you get from the fans the first time. I've been there as a fan before, watched game, but for you to be coming on and everybody cheering, is an experience that is very hard to sort of talk about. And I would also have to say, when I've scored as well, I've not scored many, but I managed to score, a couple of times, 3 times at Old Trafford, once against Liverpool, which is another dream come true, really, and once against Juventus in the Champions League. So,
yeah. Just
because of the feeling I got from that, which I didn't get very often, which is scoring a goal, I would say them 3 for me were the highlights, and that I try and look back at and get that same feeling.
Okay. All right. So, Brendan, Manoj, you guys have been to Old Trafford, yes?
To be frank, I haven't been to Old Trafford, but I am lucky enough to watch match with Wes itself in a virtual tour of Old Trafford when he was in Bangalore.
Okay, well, that qualifies then. What about you, Brendan? So I think your microphone is not on, Brendan. So if we can get you on. Technical difficulties. It's always beautiful. Can you speak now?
This is better now?
There we go. Perfect.
Super stuff. So I've been to Old Trafford a couple of years ago, went for the Manchester derby. Unfortunately, the one. Yeah, that's the one that won City the title. Otherwise, it was a Liverpool title, which none of us wanted to happen, really, did we? But yeah, that was a great feeling. My question to Wes is not so much about my experience, but we've heard Ollie talk about the banners at Old Trafford and how they changed from red banners to the black ones. Similar to the grey shirt incident that happened a few years ago, a decade or so ago, how much truth is there to that, you feel? Because post changing the banners, we won 4 out of 4 games. So do you think there's any truth in that?
I actually do. I mean, I was around when the grey shirts were out, and it's all to do with vision, really. I mean, I played a lot on the right back position. Now, for instance, when I do eye tests, my left eye is absolutely brilliant because I'm always looking to my left, but my right eye isn't as good. You don't see all the colours properly. So I think it's pretty proven that the sort of more greys colours, you don't see it highlighted as much, and so you could easily pass into the crowd or pass somewhere else. It's not as colourful. And like the seats were all red, all the banners were red. We wear red. So occasionally the pass, because you do a lot of passing where you see it at the corner of your eye, you don't necessarily see the person and you pass to the space. So it's a disadvantage a little bit, but to obviously have the black there now, it's very easy to work out your black and red. So yeah, I mean, that happened a long time ago with the grey kit, which was a very big talking point.
Fair enough. Thank you so much.
Albert would be better off answering that with the kit.
All right, we will ask Albert that when he's on as well. Anything else that you wanted to ask, Manoj?
No, I just wanted to tell that it was a great experience when Wes had come down to the Bangalore, and especially it was done in Orion Mall. I'm not sure if Wes would remember it, but it was special moment for all the members of Manchester Supporters Club Bangalore, and it was damn lovely. Can't forget that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Wes.
yeah, it was brilliant, and like I said, I always love coming back to India. I've been back maybe 4 or 5 times since I left playing in the league. So any occasion possible, I will always come, and it was good to have the experience watching a game as well with all the fans.
It's a pleasure to have you always.
Thank you.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, boys. We will get a few more fans on in just a little bit. But now we're getting to the point that I was actually very excited about because, again, a bit of a football geek. People who watch our usual streams know that I'm a bit of an amateur football manager myself. So I enjoy the entire back end aspect of it. And we have actually a few people who we're going to talk about the technical aspect about, and of course, people who couldn't be there because it is match day today, but they have recorded a few segments for us. And we're going to get in some of our technical stuff. Just a quick reminder again that we have the contest running on the Apollo Exports Instagram account. So if you take a snapshot of this and put it up there, tag them, you could win a signed jersey. So now we're going to talk about a little bit of fitness. A lot of players, lot of games in the season, a lot of intensity, and we have to maintain fitness, avoid injuries. Some players are very good at it. Some players have had their struggles. But one key person in this entire setup is, of course, Richard Hawkins, who's the head of athletic performance, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his role and how he helps players ahead of match day. So let's have a look at that.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You feeling all right?
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, a bit hectic, but
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much. Now, listen, your title of Head of Physical Performance at Manchester United, can you just talk us through the responsibilities and the different layers that role involves?
Yeah, so, I mean, the title really, it encompasses all aspects to do with sort of sports science and conditioning and nutrition. We're looking to produce players that can sustain 50 games a season.
Travel during the Champions League or pretty much any season. What does that mean to your scheduling and programming? Does it change it at all, or how does it affect it?
The key thing really is sleep. A lot of the things that we talk about and a lot of the things that we try to bring into recovery strategies, if the sleep we're not focusing on and the nutrition we're not focusing on, the rest of it doesn't really account for much.
What does the club do to actually help the players mentally as well as being physically prepared for the next game?
The big part is communication, and I think it's part of our sort of role is to keep the players really informed, and so they know exactly what the plan is, and they can work towards that. There's a big part of nutrition that plays in that, and eating at the right times, and the nutritionists work really hard in trying to drive certain foods to players that potentially could help them with the sleeping pattern. And I think it's just having those communication sort of skills with players to be completely upfront and honest and get feedback from them in terms of how they're feeling, and that's part of the team I've got around me, because our role is to try to find solutions that help them perform when they're selected. It's very hard to fit all the work we really want in when we've got a game every 3 or 4 days, which is pretty much the whole season. When players are preparing for a game, they don't want to do too much extra in the gym to take it away from them. And our systems are devised as such now that 15-20 minutes extra at the end of training, or 15-20 minutes before training, that's it. That's all it is. But if they're doing that 3-4 times a week, it builds up, and you look at the shape that some of them are in, and they're fantastic.
Richard, lovely to speak to you again. Thank you very much for taking time out with us. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, so there we had Richard Hawkins, who was taking us through the fitness regimen. I'm going to get another couple of fans on, so you can raise your hands, and we will get you on. If we can get who do we have? We have Samir Kesarkar, Anshuman Singh, and who else do we have again? Yeah, we get those two on at least, and we can get Soptik Saha. Yeah, let's do that. And so, Wes, I wanted to ask you in terms of fitness. Now, obviously, it plays a huge part, and there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make as not just a footballer, but also an individual. And also, so that's one part of the question. And also, how much of a difference does the backroom like fitness staff actually make, considering we've seen players like Luke Shaw who really struggled with injury, but he's been just fabulous this season. He's playing multiple games in a week and doesn't look like there's any issues. So can you take us through that entire dynamic?
Yeah, I think over the years it's got a lot better. And when I first started to join, especially as a young kid in the youth team, I pretty much ate anything I wanted. There wasn't sort of a regime where I had to eat certain stuff. And I think it's as the years have gone on, people like Richard have come in and helped. And first of all, you probably look at the player, look at the performance levels he's getting. Does he get tired in a game? Can he do all the running? Can he last the game? And then they try and help. And like I said, he talked about, speaking to the individuals, different people. There's different sizes of players, like defenders might do something different in the gym than strikers or midfielders. The midfielders might have to do, last longer running and maybe get some more longer sprints in. So everybody in every single part of the pitch plays a different part. And whereas when I first came in, we all sort of did the same thing. We all did the same running, we all did the same sprints, and it didn't necessarily match everyone's physique and position.
All right. Okay, lads, if you have any questions for Wes, knock yourself out.
So my question for Wes is he was one of the very few players who played he was in 99 treble team also and 2008 Champions League team also. So how both teams were different and which he liked the most?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I can simply tell you, as the first team in '99 when I was there as a kid, and that experience of watching all these fantastic players come together and achieve such a, such a massive performance year where they win the treble, never been done before. You learn a lot from it as a kid. And, when we get to 08, I think it's different times now. We have a completely different team. We have a great team. And, people ask me all the time, which was the better team, because, you both won the Champions League. And my answer will always stay the same. And that has to be the 99 team, because they won the treble and we didn't. We had a very good chance to, but we just couldn't quite get there. And like I said, it was a little bit different then. There was a lot of young lads around the team in '99 as well. But to be involved in both is a great experience. The 08, I was a little bit older, so I understood, what was needed, what we needed to do, the commitments you have to make. And like I said, the team itself and the squad we probably should have done a little bit better. I know I'm being harsh there, but that FA Cup still hurts me to this day.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else?
So my question to Wes. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Something you can go first.
Yeah.
In what ways Indian football can improve?
Sorry, can you say that again? Sorry.
My question to Wes would be that how much you think football can improve?
I think I may have got cut off, but I think he's asking about Indian football and what are the areas in which Indian football can improve.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I answered it a lot before, and like I said, I think it's just practice, and I know a big part of that is facilities. Can there be more pitches? Can there be more setups where kids can go and train on a regular basis? Really, I think that's a big part of it. In England, without knowing even too much as a kid, but I always knew there'd be a game on. You could always join a team, pretty simple, or there'd be training lessons on, and that's, I think, somewhere where if that starts to grow, anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the lack of facilities. I remember, when I was growing up, obviously we didn't have pitches to play on. I used to play, and for a lot of people from Mumbai, we used to all play on the beach. And even on the beach, we had limited sections that we used to play on. So we've literally been in times where we have combined two different matches and played 22 aside. And it's been the most ridiculous thing any of us ever had to do. All right, Anshuman, go for it. Your next question, please.
Hi, Wes.
Hi.
Yeah. So my question would be, being a defender yourself, which centre back would you like to join United in the coming summer? Since we are always struggling with the centre back's position, who would be your ideal partner for Harry Maguire?
Oh, that's a very good question. I do honestly think that Lindelof and Maguire have made a good partnership this season. And Eric Bailly, I really like as a player. I know he's hit a lot of injuries this season, and that's maybe why he's not got as many games. But when he does play, I honestly feel, he's got every attribute that you sort of need. He's quick, he's strong, he's good on the ball, and he also gives it everything. So it's a tough one. I mean, listen, every season, every team will always buy and sell players. That's how you evolve. That's how you get better. But at the time being, I think we've improved from the last 2 or 3 seasons. The position we have ourselves in the league. We're also in, very, very close now to that final. And so we always have to do additions. Who I would bring, I mean, that's a tough question. But at the moment, I'm still happy with who we have. Who would you like?
I would love to have a Rafael Varane or a Pau Torres, because as as much I do like the injury problems, doesn't seem to go away. It's like piling up.
Yeah, I understand that.
Season after season. With Lindelof, there are always mistakes here and there. He tries too much sometimes, and then he's like, I just need a partner whom we can be like, give the forward players some more space, where we don't have to do much of a defending in the middle of the park, and then we can play the way we want us to play, and with just free flowing football.
Yeah, I understand that. I always feel that competition is good as well.
Exactly.
The prime example is Luke Young.
Telles for sure.
Exactly. Telles comes in. He probably plays 2 really good games where you're thinking, oh, he looks really good.
Yeah.
Luke then plays the next game, plays unbelievable. Now you're thinking, okay, you can't take him out.
Yeah.
And that's never stopped. That when you up the quality of your competition, we're all teammates, but it makes you, up your game a little bit. So you start getting the best out of all the players around you. And I think, that's where the squad comes in. And I think that's what Ollie's trying to do. And like I said,
exactly.
Telles has been very, very, very unfortunate. Every game he's played, he's very good on the ball. He can get into them attacking positions.
His crosses.
Crosses, but Luke Shaw's doing everything better at the moment. Yeah. And you probably couldn't have said that before he came. So, sometimes getting that new person in, makes everybody realise that they can give a little bit more.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, guys. We're going to move on to the next segment. I see a lot of you have raised your hands. So for the next segment, just so we're prepared, I'm going to bring on Jayant, I'm going to bring on Dhruv, and I'm going to bring on Badsha Anzif, so we can prep those guys. And in the meanwhile, we're gonna hear from Casey Stoney, who's the manager of Manchester United women's team. She's talking about training her team for Matchday. We get insights into her coaching, her leadership style, and how she's seen the sport evolve, and her motivation as well. So let's have a look at that.
I think what I've learned about personal development is that people change. Personal development to me is so important, to learn and grow every single day, but I have to make mistakes to do that, and that's the message I want to send when I'm a head coach to my players, is that mistakes are okay. They are part of learning, and you need to make them to grow. In terms of football, I would say there wasn't really any visible role models. The thing that inspired me was the game, and the game that I loved. And I wanted to play. The women's game's a world away from it was when I was younger. There was no girls' teams. I had to play in a boys' team, in a boys' league. I was the only girl. And we have a fully professional league now. I remember putting on kits that were 4 sizes too big because they were men's kits. Now we have women's kits. We've got resources, and clubs invest in their women's team now, which I think is really important. The biggest challenge is probably never giving up, because there were so many times when I was playing that I wanted to give up. When I failed at my first England trial and they told me I wasn't good enough, I went on to make 130 caps for England. I think leadership is many things, and I think you can lead in different ways. And when I talk about leadership, I want to lead through inspiring and influence, and wanting to be a person that people want to follow, not a person that dictates, not a person that prods and pushes people in the right direction, because That's only short term. You know, I want to be a leader that people can look to and follow. Someone that's honest, someone that's true, someone that's authentic. And I'm really proud to be called a leader. I think sport has the opportunity to bring people together, to have a voice for equality and diversity and inclusion. And sport should be played by all, watched by all, viewed by all, and worked in by all. I think sport has a real opportunity to change society. Came here to change the perceptions of the women's game. And to change the perceptions of the women's game, it's about performance. It's about driving standards every day, developing our players to be the best they possibly can.
All right, that was Casey Stoney, who's manager of the women's football team for Manchester United. If we can get the few fans that I mentioned on, in the meanwhile, I'm gonna talk to Wes about. So Casey's talking about leadership, and we did briefly talk about this in our little interaction earlier about some of the more influential players that you've played with at Old Trafford, and obviously Roy Keane was one of them. And Kino obviously was a very, as you said, a bit of aggressive guy. He sort of really made you sometimes shouted at you, sometimes got a little aggressive with you to make the team better. But I'm sure there were also a lot of people who were leaders, but not as vocal as him. So who were those guys in the dressing room for you?
Yeah, that one for me is people like Lauren Blanc, Yap Stam. You know, these guys where maybe weren't as aggressive, maybe didn't talk as much, but as soon as they got on that training pitch or in a game, you know, you could see them fully focused, and you know, it didn't matter, you know, who they were playing against. They always did well, and you can also look in that way. I mean, not everyone's very vocal and sort of acts in that way. You know, they do it in other ways. And Yap Stam, for instance, he would do it on the pitch. He'd do it with his first tackle. He'd win the ball. You know, when he's running, he's sprinting. You can see it in how players play. And he for me was definitely one of the best defenders I've seen play at Old Trafford.
Oh, that's interesting. Because actually, I think maybe I was very young when I watched Laurent Blanc, so maybe I didn't have that appreciation for defenders at that time. But that's quite interesting that you mentioned that. And we have some of our fans on as well. So guys, whatever you want to ask Wes, if it's about leadership or whatever else, please feel free.
Hey Wes, hi, good evening. Hi. Thanks for doing this. Just as someone who watches as well as plays, I just wanted to know one thing from you. As you know, injuries are part and parcel of the game, right? So when you do play or after you have an injury, what special things do you do to avoid injury while playing? Or also once you have an injury, how to recover faster?
Yeah, very good question. I mean, I did my ACL at a very young age at 19, and you know, it's one of them things where I've never been injured at all ever in my life. And the next minute, the doctor's telling me I'm going to be out for 8 to 9 months. And, you know, that mentally sort of, it's hard to sort out in your head as such a young guy. And the one thing I did learn along the way is that it can be a very boring, it can be hard work, and you've still got to be committed to it because you still have to do all your exercises. We're talking about the same things consistently every day, very boring things where all the lads are all running out for training. But you learn that, you know, you always have to keep it going. Even if you feel that, for instance, after 5 months, you're starting to run on the pitch and maybe kick a ball, that you're still not ready yet. You have to still be focused on, you know, it's still another 2-3 months down the line. Don't try and do something too early, which as a kid I did. You know, I didn't lie, but I'm saying to the physio, no, it feels better today, maybe we should do this. Just trying to get everything quicker. And I think as you get older, you realize that, you know, the world, if anything, doesn't work like that. It takes its time. You have to prepare, you have to do things right, and gradually get to where you want to be again.
All right, brilliant. Thanks, Wes. Dhruv, anything you'd like to ask?
Yeah. Hi, Wes.
Hi.
Since we were talking about leadership and all that, I mean, you spent a lot of time, obviously, with Sir Alex Mann and the manager. And I just wanted to know what would be your biggest takeaway in terms of experiences or things that he's taught you over the last few years, over the years that you spent with him as a player at Old Trafford?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I could sit here and tell you many things, but the manager, you know, he taught me how to grow up. He taught me how to be a man. Like I said, I was at the club since I was a kid. I was 13, you know, and when you're a kid, things happen, and especially when you're growing up, and he would always tell me what's right, what's wrong. If he felt like I was doing something wrong, he would let me know, and regardless how old you are, you take what he says in, and you try and let it happen because you only know he means the best for you. And like I said, he didn't always shout at me. Sometimes he was just trying to help, and sometimes that wasn't just in football as well. It was outside of football where he would try and encourage me to do other things. So yeah, he was like Albert said earlier on, he's probably the best man management person I've ever known. We've got players coming from all over the world, different. Like I said, the way they grow up was different, and somehow he understood how to get them players to play as one team.
Excellent.
All right, and who's left? One of y'all is left to ask a question. I think that's Anzif.
Yeah. Hey, Wes. So one thing I wanted to ask you was, what do you miss about Manchester United apart from playing for Manchester United or the fans? The one thing that you miss every day.
The changing room. And it's a weird thing to say, but I know as a fan as well now, watching the lads, you just want them to play well on the pitch and, score goals, play good play. But as a player in the changing rooms, we think a little bit different. We see it as, we're just a young bunch of lads. I missed all the laughs we had, the changing room banter that people talk about, and just meeting up every day and training as a team of young men who are trying to achieve something. And like I said, we still do speak to each other, but I miss that every day, personal, upfront, talking to them.
All right. So Wes, just to add to that. So obviously you had this entire group of friends and you all hung out and all. I mean, I want to know from the time that you were playing and to the time now, obviously there has been a change in terms of footballers, as we've spoken about fitness and all of that. But was there ever a culture between, when you were young guys of going out maybe once in a while, going for a party, while during the season is on, going to a nightclub or whatever while that's happening? Was that allowed?
Yeah, I mean, it was allowed. But at the same time, I think we all understood ourselves. We all understood our bodies. I mean, if you do that and there's games coming up, it's going to be hard. I think, when it was certain times like Christmas, the manager would all let us go out. Obviously, if we won trophies. But in general, it was just personal choice. I mean, as a young lad, I went out quite a lot. And I think, you need to experience that first to then understand that you just can't do it if you want to stay at the highest level. Does that make sense? You can't always go out and then come back and train and play to your best ability. So, it's a bit of balance. You obviously you have to experience it, but at the same time, your number one priority comes back to the top, and that's playing for Manchester United, and you want to try and stay there as long as you can.
All right, brilliant, cool. Thank you, guys. We're going to move on to our next segment. And that was quite fun because I actually managed to get to talk to Mike Phelan for a little bit and got to ask him a few questions. That was quite fun. And let's have a look at that conversation as well. All right. Thank you so much, Mike, for sitting down with me and having this chat. I think a lot of us, me included, are football geeks. We like to know a lot about what's happening with the coaching staff and behind the scenes, not just with the players. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about that. If you could take us through what is the general match day preparation that happens for any game that we play?
It's an ongoing process. So for instance, we may have a game on a Saturday, which is unusual. It's usually Sundays. We'll start that process very early. Then we'll deliver to the players, and then we'll also at some point before that match has been played, look at the next opposition.
Oh yeah, that's because there's so many games happening right now, right?
Yeah, partly it's because there's so many games, and partly is we just try to be ahead of the curve because we have a squad of players that we need to really work with, so we can think ahead. So in some ways we can work from ahead to the future, sort of thing. It's a little bit disjointed, but we could look 3 games ahead in order to plan for the next game. So we can look at the squad and see who may be available, who might not, who may be suitable to that game rather than the one that's immediate. So it's a process of all sorts of things, analysing, databasing, using the skills of the relevant people that we've got at this football club then going from there.
Well, the only databasing and analysis that I'm doing is on Football Manager video games, but I'm sure it's a lot tougher to do your job. So okay, sticking to the players and matchday preparation, generally what is the training schedule for the players like right now?
Well, that all depends on the games really, and how the calendar's set up. You know, at the moment we're playing every more or less 72 hours, even less in some respects. So we have to be diligent. We have to make sure that the players are rested and recovered and ready to go again.
Okay, so now let's get properly into match day. So for both the team and the coaching staff, what is match day like? You know, like start to finish. Where does it start? Where does it end?
Well, all this depends on, you know, are we in a hotel? Are we not? Are we reporting just you know, before the game? In the main, we are in a hotel situation now, particularly with COVID. So we report. We'll have dinner together. We keep it pretty relaxed. We keep it, you know, further away from the game as we possibly can. But then the build-up usually starts around about breakfast time. You know, sometimes if it's a home game, we'll probably come into the training complex and maybe walk through a few things and just generally get our minds set on the task in hand. If we're in a hotel, we'll probably have group meetings. The coaches are very good at having group meetings and giving them subtle informations about, you know, how we see the game, how we see the opposition, what might be important. And then basically it's rest, relax until we really come together for pre-match, and then that's when the momentum really kicks in.
Okay, so we know the players' routine now, but what is the coaching staff routine on match day? What are you guys doing, like start to finish?
Well, I think all the prep work's done before the actual kick-off. You know, there are little alterations, like I've said, that you have to make depending on what team selection the opposition's put in. But I think from a coach's point of view after that, it's just really reinforcing, you know, those small details to the players that really could matter to them personally.
Oh, and especially when we're losing a game, like what's the difference between those two situations?
Yeah, it's emotional. You know, it's football's an emotional game. So when we go in, you know, at certain times, and players can be, I wouldn't say aggressive, but they're mindful of what's just happened. Some are stronger in their opinions and some are pretty quiet. But most of all, it's about, you know, let's listen to the noise a little bit. Let's use that, you know, in a positive way. But let's reinforce what we're actually trying to do. Are we doing it? Are we not doing it? Can we correct it? Does it need a tactical change? These types of things. Or, you know, sometimes players aren't performing as well as you expect them in that first 45 minutes. So when is the point, or what is the point to you talking to that individual? Can you get more out of them, or is it a case of pulling that player out of the situation because it's difficult for them to find a way through it? So those are the decision-making processes that we try and do collectively.
How difficult or easy is it to motivate players after bad result? How do you go about that?
Well, I find that pretty easy. You know, it's because our turnaround is so rapid now. We can't dwell on the past. You know, you don't get time to reflect on that really, because you're always thinking forward. So you have to be critical, find the small detail that's made that result happen, deal with it, and then move on.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for taking out the time to answer these questions for me, and all the best to you and the team for the rest of the season. Cheers. Okay, it's me again from that guy. Thank you, Azeem. That was a great interview. Very well done. Okay, we're just going to get on a couple more sets of fans. I see one set of fans, but there's 4 fans together. I think it's the Manchester United supporters group from Nagaland. So we're going to get Kolomero on, and I'm also going to get Mayank Jasore on, who is from the Nagpur Supporters Club. So we'll get these people on as well. Wes, I want to talk to you about the management staff now. Mike Phelan, he's been Sir Alex Ferguson's second in command. He's been now Ole's second in command. What makes him so special that, you know, all these managers at United want to have them in their corner?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, obviously Mike used to play for Manchester United, so you know he understands the background. He first came in with Sir Alex, and like I said, he understood how it was all run. I mean, there's so much work that goes behind the scenes. Maybe just even for one game. I know he's talking the games now consistently, 3 games a week. So you can imagine how much work is put into getting all the information for every game. I also know that, for instance, if I was playing right back, there'll be clips on the people I'd be playing against. Someone has to sort that out, edit it, and send that on to me to watch. And that will be for every single player. And then there'll be meetings, meetings on what the manager wants to do, how he wants to obviously take this game forward. Are we defending? Are we counter-attacking? Is there any certain particular players we need to look after, or maybe get tighter to be a little bit more aggressive? There's a lot of work going into it. And, he talked about there, sometimes they're doing 3-4 games ahead, looking at that far to see, well, maybe, do we save this player for that game because he could particularly be good in that game. So he's a great guy as well. He gives you so much confidence, and he's someone you listen to because he's also played, like I said.
All right, brilliant. So I'm gonna get Colo Mero on. Obviously, I'm assuming that's more than one person over there. It's very very nice to see 4 of you together. Obviously, I can't take 4 questions, sadly. But if there's one question that you had to ask Wes, what would that be? Please feel free.
Colo Mero, I've been following Manchester United since 1990, and I'm here with my 3 daughters.
Oh, lovely.
We're a United family. Yeah, we are from Nagaland, a football crazy state, and we'd like to request Manchester United, if there is any possibility for Manchester United to come to India and set up academies, and especially in the Northeast, or still better if it is in Nagaland. It's a 1.3 billion population. There is already a huge fan base. And if academies can come, I think the younger generation, especially we can, with more fans, more people can come forward to support this big club.
Okay. Is there any specific question that you would like to ask for Wes? Is there a question that you would like to ask for Wes?
Yes. If there will be any chance for Manchester United to come to India and set up academies.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Wes? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I know Manchester United have a lot of camps, obviously a lot in England. They have a lot in Europe as well. And I know they're always trying to branch out to different parts of the world. And they see it as a good thing, to let fans experience the Manchester United way, how they train, get to meet new people. And, hopefully one day we can come to India. I think we've been a couple of times where we've set up smaller camps at big events, and hopefully in the future we don't exactly know what's happening yet, and obviously traveling, but hopefully in the future we can come out to India, especially the Northeast. I mean, I've got a lot of friends from the Northeast as well.
All right, brilliant. Thank you. Also, Mayank, if you'd like to ask your question, please.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Wes. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay, thanks.
Yeah. My question to you would be, since we as a group were discussing this lately, that since our matches with Liverpool now, so for last 4 years since Jurgen Klopp has signed for Liverpool, after a year or so, the change has been immense. And comparing that with United since Ole has come in, the change is evident. But when can we see our trophy form coming back to United, or when can we see this United team challenging Man City and Liverpool for titles, or going in the Europe and winning the cups? Or which players do you think would have to step up for us to be competitive in that level now?
Yeah, well, I think you can see this season, obviously we're close to a final now. We're second in the league, which is progression again from the previous league seasons. So I can see us, gradually getting there. I think, I always say on a day when I watch the team now, we can beat anyone. And that is honestly the truth. On our day, we can beat anyone. Now it's, for me, can we be consistent in every game? Can we play as well every game? Can we keep that going throughout the season? And I think we've got better at it. Early on in the season, you'll know how many goals did we let in in the first 5 minutes. Crazy. I mean, if you can stop that, that helps straight away. But I think we're getting there, you know, and I think if we can just win that Europa Cup this year, that gives all the players the encouragement now to think, right, okay, listen, we could easily finish second in the league, or we will finish second in the league. We've just won a cup. Can we now step up to them the same level where Man City are and start challenging them? But I can see it, you know, we're doing good progression, and hopefully we can just keep it going. It's mentally, you know, a tough ride, but if the lads start to believe in themselves, anything can happen, and that's honestly the truth, because on our day, like I said, we can beat any team.
All right,
So
brilliant. Thank you, Wes. Sorry, Mayank, I'll have to just cut you off a little bit because we're running slightly low on time and we have to take questions from more people. I'm so sorry, buddy. But we'll have to move on. Thank you so much. And also for Colomero, just to inform you, I've just been told that Apollo and United are going to be starting training camps in the Northeast, so look out for that. Okay, now this is something that I'm actually very, very excited about. So we're close to, we're getting close to the game at some point. But we have somebody along with us who I'm very genuinely excited to talk to. He's been inside of the dressing room at Manchester United for more than 20 years. He's supported, I mean, he's been like the support staff for like some of our biggest players. He's received the hairdryer treatment from Sir Alex Ferguson as well. So can we please welcome a former Manchester United kitman and a legend in his own right, Mr. Albert Morgan. Right, whenever you're ready. There we go. There's Albert. Okay, Albert, if you can just switch your microphone on, that would be great.
Is that right? Is that okay?
Yes, perfect, Albert. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
All right, lovely. So I wanted to get into, you know, just our, like, you would have obviously a lot of memories from the dressing room, particularly about Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think the one thing that we've always wanted to know about is the hairdryer treatment. So I think you've received it and you've seen it being dished out to players as well. So can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, personally, I think it's a little bit of a myth. It's been blown out of proportion a little bit, but I mean, when he used to blow what I used to call his stack, he used to go and but it was all in the, it was like an act. He knew who he could do it to, he knew who he couldn't do it to, and the response that he got when he knew, you know, I mean, I always remember one time when he had a go at Giggsy for doing something. And Giggsy was like, well, I think I'm doing okay. But what it did do, it made the others think, well, if he's having a go at Ryan, he's going to be having a go at me in a minute. I better pull my finger out. And he was a master. He was a master at psychology. A master at psychology. Really
all right.
was.
Okay. So you've obviously, and this is something that I wanted to ask you all. So we beat Roma pretty emphatically a few nights ago. And I think both of you were involved in the night where we beat Roma 7-1 at Old Trafford. So what was the dressing room like after that night?
Well, I mean, it was just everybody was ecstatic because they didn't expect that, you know, but the boys played well. It seemed as though every time we had a shot at goal, the ball went in, and we progressed, you know, to the in the Champions League. It was wonderful, and you know, like Wes has just said, we had a great set of players. You know, Alan Smith, for instance, who wasn't at the club a long time, but I mean, Alan was. I think that was Alan's best game for the club that night. Wonderful.
Yeah, I remember being especially happy because Alan was one of my favorite players, and to see him come back after that huge injury layoff and score his goal, that was really great. Wes, what about that? What about for you as a player? What was it like?
Yeah, crazy night, like Alb said, and it was one of them nights where afterwards, you know that there's a special squad coming together. But during the game, it was also one of them nights that you don't really get often, where everything you do works. A pass, the ball, the shot, the defending, it all went perfect. And like I said, you don't get that very often. So, I mean, you have to work hard for that. But at the same time, it was just one of them fantastic European nights that, most people will not forget.
Okay. Albert, question for you. So you've obviously seen a lot of characters in the dressing room over the last few years. So from who would you say was the most maybe eccentric kind of thing, kind of player, and the most quiet player in the group, like across your years?
One of the quietest ones was Dennis Irwin. But Dennis was, you could rely on Dennis every week to give you the same performance. Eccentric play as well. I suppose you could. We had a lad called Mikel Oberton.
Yeah, Gabriel Oberton. Yeah,
Gabriel Oberton, and he was a little bit, Nani was another one. But they all did a job. They all tried. Some succeeded better than others, and it was just all part of basically everyday life. It was, we like I said before, we've had some wonderful players. We've been blessed with players.
Okay. And since we were talking about it earlier and somebody had asked the question about it, can you tell us about the infamous grey kit incident?
Well, that was scientifically proven that grey kit was no good, because we had what we call an eye lady. She was a fan, and she was called Gail Stevenson, and she was a professor in ophthalmics at Liverpool University. And she wrote into the manager about the grey kits. She did a paper on it, and I read the paper, and it was interesting to read what she said. And the manager had her in to discuss it, and she ended up working on a part-time basis for 12 to 15 years until sadly she passed away. But she was She was a very, very clever and lovely lady, Gail.
Wow. Okay, that's something I wouldn't have expected to hear at all. But that's
when the other clubs found out that we had this eye lady, that could give the players exercises for their eyes, like Wes has said before. His right eye is stronger than his left eye. She could get. I mean, I didn't know, but you can have exercises now, to alter your peripheral vision and whatever. But she was very, very clever and dedicated to the cause.
all right. Okay, so question for both of y'all. So obviously you mentioned there's a couple of characters. Were there any players who had very strange or interesting match day rituals or routines or superstitions, that kind of stuff?
Well, the most meticulous one that I can remember was Peter Schmeichel. I mean, Peter Schmeichel wanted everything set out a certain way. He wanted, for instance, everybody had. I used to put a towel out for everybody to when they had a shower or whatever. Peter wanted 6, so you give him 6, and he was the player. When I first started at the job, when I first took over from my friend Norman Davis, he was the only player that I have ever been frightened of. But after about 2 months, because I was told to give him everything he wants. I mean, like 3 pair of boots, 6 towels, 3 kits, this, that, everything. After about 3 months, I had him eating out of the palm of my hand. and Peter's a good boy anyway. He's different class.
All right. What about you, Wes? Generally, who was the person or people that you would be sitting with in the dressing room?
Yeah, I mean, it changed over the years. Obviously, when I first was in, I was with a lot of the older boys. But then as I started getting older, I'd be sitting with John O'Shea, Rio. I sat if you've seen the video before where Dennis said he sits, I sort of sat in that corner as well. So obviously when Dennis moved on, I was sort of there. And there was probably times that Albert know better I could have moved, but at the same time that was my spot. So maybe that was a superstition as well. I always sort of stayed that way, and it was weird. I mean, I've been in the changing room for 12 years, but when I sat on the other side, the whole changing room looked different, and I didn't like it. So I would come back to what I was used to, just because of the angle. So yeah, there is weird things that happen like that.
Okay. So we do have actually we are building up to the United Liverpool game. We do have some lineups for the game, which I'll read out to you all, and then you guys can tell me your reaction. So for United, we have Henderson in goal again. That's something I wanted to discuss with you guys as well. We got Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka. No surprises there. Fred, McTominay, pretty much the same lineup as started against Roma, with the exception of the goalkeeper. And for Liverpool as well, I think it's the front three we're expecting: Mane, Firmino, Salah. We got Milner, Fabinho, Thiago in midfield. Phillips is back, so Kabak, Phillips, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold. It's a fairly strong looking lineup that they have. So what are you guys expecting from the game?
Well, personally, I'll never back against the boys, but we're playing at home. We've got a consistent run going, and we nearly always do very well against Liverpool. It's always a competitive game, and they'll be equally as determined to, because they've had the problems. They were expected to, win the league again and this and that and the other, and it hasn't happened because different people have got different opinions on why it hasn't happened.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with Albert.
Okay. Sorry. Continue, and then I'll ask you the other thing that I wanted.
I just think if we can keep their top three quiet, they've not been particularly brilliant this season, but you have to respect the class that they can bring on the day. So if we can keep them quiet, I think we'll be good. I mean, we're in a good mindset at the moment and the way we're playing. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that we should win the game.
Okay. And what do you guys make? I think this is probably the first time that I can remember that we've had two really strong goalkeepers fighting for the number one position. We've got Hendo now, who's starting in the Premier League, and David, who's playing for the Europa League. So what do you guys make of that? Do you think that's like a sustainable thing to have two number one goalkeepers, or how do you think that works?
I tell you what, it'll be hard for goalkeepers because goalkeepers are different. Albert, if you know what I mean. I think you get that all over the pitch everywhere else, but when two goalkeepers are sort of fighting it out, it's hard because, I mean, David has been so good for us over the years, and I'm not saying he's going to leave or anything because no one knows, but all of a sudden Henderson's come back. He had a great loan spell at Sheffield United, and he's come back and challenging, and now when the managers give him opportunities, he's played really well. And it's hard then to take him out, and the commitment that David's given us all these years. What do you do? And so it's a situation that, as a manager, I wouldn't like to be in. But at the same time, you play the person that you think's on form.
It's like a shootout at the OK Corral.
Okay, I'm just gonna bring a couple of fans on. I'm gonna bring on Akshay Agarwal, Saeed Mohammed, and wait, there was one more that I was gonna bring on, Aryan Sharma from Delhi MUSC. We're gonna get these boys on, and we'll just talk about the game as well. Also, what do you make of no Cavani in the starting lineup for us?
Well, I mean, he played well the other night. I don't know, but he'll more than likely be on the bench. And Ollie, I think, has managed him very, very well. Surely he'll take some part in the game today, like he will take part in the game on Thursday night when we go over there to
Turin,
to Italy.
Not Turin, Roma.
Well, Roma, yeah.
Or wherever.
Yeah. Wes is used to, I think Wes gets the throwbacks to scoring at Juventus, so against Juventus, so that's why it's Turin always. Yeah. Okay, we have a question. Yeah, no, go for it, and then we'll continue.
No, I just think the same as Albert, Cavani, we're getting to that stage of the season now. We've sort of already qualified for the Champions League, and a very important game is we've got next week. So you save him maybe for that.
Okay, all right. We have some of our guys on the screen right now. So, guys, any questions that you have for Wes and Albert about anything that you'd like to ask? Go for it. Anybody? Don't be so formal. Yeah, go for it.
Don't be shy.
Yeah, Saeed here from MUSC Kerala.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, first of all, let me thank Wes Brown for wishing my daughter last year on her birthday.
No problem.
Yeah, you were part of MUSC Kerala's one event last year conducted, and you wished her birthday. So I was so grateful for that. And the question is for you, basically, about your times at Manchester United. As a player, who did you find yourself a difficult one to defend against in the training as well as in the while you are playing for Manchester United?
Yeah, in training for me, as I started as a very young age, was marking Ryan Giggs. This guy had everything, and he learnt me a lot. And the best thing about training with him and other players was that I was always playing against the best players in the league every day. So when it did come to a match, I'd be even better in the match because these players weren't as good as him. So I always feel like if you're at the when you're at Manchester United, you are training with the best players. So you could be having days at work where it's not going too well, and you've got to try and figure it out how to mark someone. But like I said, when you come up against your opponents, some of the players are not as good, so it made it a lot easier. And that's how I, would always try and put the effort in training.
Okay, Akshay, I'll go to you next. What would you like to ask? Yeah, wait. You can unmute your mic now.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Hi. So, hi Wes, hi Albert. Luckily enough, I've been able to meet Wes when he was here in Hyderabad. I'm not sure if he remembers my face, but I was the one who. Do you? Oh, that's an honor for me, because I was the one who was actually screaming his chant loud and clear so that he realizes he's in Hyderabad, and luckily enough, having a chat with him all over again. So my question is actually for Albert, and just had a look at some of the videos, and most of us are actually wearing home jerseys, but I am probably the only one with the away one. So, like, do you particularly have any favorite jerseys of yours?
I like the Champions League one of 1999, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm asked this many times. It was absolutely a wonderful, wonderful shirt, and it's just a great shirt. We've had some great shirts. One of the guys that was just on before with the blue one with the white on, that was another favourite of mine. They've all been good apart from the grey one.
We have a request of the chat as well. If we can have the Wes Brown chant, so I'll sing some of that. He's big, he's bad, he's Wesley Brown.
Yeah, I've not been to the stadium with fans in for a while, so I've not heard that. So thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, Aryan, you can ask your questions.
Yeah, I apologize for my video quality. My webcam wasn't working today.
That's fine.
Okay, so my question would be: do you think could Manchester United win the league next season? And if they can't, then who is one player that you think could realistically come to United that would maximize the chances of us winning?
Yeah, I'll answer that one first, Albert. I honestly do think we can. I mean, City have been excellent this season. You can't really fault them and how they've gone about it. But I think we've improved, and we've got to look at ourselves. I think with a couple of signings, we could easily, get to their level. If you're looking at players that I like, I mean, there's always the obvious ones like your Sanchos, people like this, and who I would love to come in, maybe give us that little bit more option. But like I said, it's going to be an interesting summer. I know Ollie for a fact will definitely bring in some players. I also like Grealish as well. So I mean, it's going to be difficult. And are these players available? Are they at the right price? Are they going to get overpriced? A lot comes into it, especially with the the pandemic that's been gone on. I know a lot of clubs haven't got that sort of money to sort of go out and buy all these players. So does that bring values down? Does it bring them up? So it's going to be very interesting. But I do think with a few additions, we start off well next season, that we're more than capable of be competing for that title.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. I have one question for Wes and Albert, which has come from our online YouTube super chat. So Siddharth Madwal is asking about the atmosphere for Manchester derbies. How different was that from United Liverpool, and what is the build-up for those games at Old Trafford?
Well, to me, the derby, purely because I was born in Manchester, I've lived in Manchester all my life, and Wes will tell you, I put the Manchester derby personally bigger than the Liverpool game, because the atmosphere, both home and away, whether it was at the old main road, who I can remember going there when I was a kid, was fantastic. We've had some fantastic games over the years, and then as City have got more powerful, with all the money that they've got, and the backing of a nation, they've caught up. They've played very, very well this year, but we've improved immensely over the last 2 or 3 years. And as Wes has just said, to have 4 players come in next season, like I'm sure the club will buy, we won't be far behind, possibly in front. And I just hope and pray that we are.
Right. Yeah, my derby derby day was always a little bit different. Like Albert, I was born and bred in Manchester, so I have a lot of Man City fans as friends. So it's more.
In fact, didn't your younger brother play for the academy at City?
No, he played for the academy at Man United.
Oh, well, I thought you had another brother who was part of the City academy growing up.
No.
Or maybe that's just Wikipedia messing with my head.
No.
Yeah, someone's put that in wrong, I think.
Okay.
Well, we'll be all right. I'll guarantee you that we'll be all right. We're on our way. We're improving all the time.
All right, brilliant. So we have time for one last fan. So I'm gonna get on Naman Sujanti, who's a guy who sends me lots of messages on Instagram. So in return, you're gonna get to join us. We'll get you on. And in the meanwhile, I'm gonna get Wes and Albert final thoughts. Just putting you on the spot. Predictions for tonight. Where do you see? What do you think? What's gonna happen in the game?
Well, like I said before, I never back against United. I always fancy them with the game in mind for Thursday. All right, because they've got a bit of an advantage, but I'll still go for 3-1.
Oh, okay. What about you, Wes?
I'm going to say 2-0. I just feel that the way we're playing at the moment and the positivity of the team. I think as long as we're really strong at the first 20 minutes defensively, I think that Liverpool defense we can definitely get at and get goals.
All right, brilliant. Okay, Naman, we have you on. We'll take one question from you, so go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Azeem. So hi, Wes and Albert. So I'm always in a fix between trying to appreciate players which have the right attitude more, or the players which are exceptionally talented but with sort of an attitude issue. So what is your take, Albert and Wes, on this?
Well, I mean, are you sort of like asking who was the best player I've seen?
I think he's saying, who some people are maybe not as talented as other people, but the talented ones sometimes don't work as hard. And how do you feel about?
I mean, what a prime example that I say about is for working hard is Cristiano Ronaldo, and he mixed that with a natural talent, and he was phenomenal. He was the hardest working player we have had at United, in my opinion. In my opinion, also not the best, because in my time I always say Paul Scholes, but for hard work, can't beat Ronaldo.
But I do agree, Al, if you're mixing hard work with talent as well, an exception and old talent like Cristiano, that's the. I mean, look what he's gone on to do. Look what he did for us and what he's gone on, and that just shows. You know, if you do put the work in, and you've got talent for it, you can achieve anything.
I used to go and have to drag him off the training ground. The manager would ring me and say, "Go and get him in. Go and get him in." He'd have played there all day.
Very true.
Okay, thanks, Naman. Thanks for your question. And yeah, just before we wrap up, I think we have Ramandeep Singh Thakur on the YouTube super chat who'd like to say thank you to both of y'all for all the entertainment that you've provided to us over the years, and GGMU. That's the message that he sends. So thank you guys. So I think we are pretty much done for today. Thank you so much to Albert and Wes for taking out the time to interact with the fans. Thank you to all the fans for coming on, and apologies for those of you who we couldn't get on, but hopefully y'all had a good experience with this. And just a last reminder about the contest running on Apollo X Sports on Instagram, where you can win a signed jersey. So you just need to take a little screenshot of this thing and tag Apollo X Sports in it, and you could win the signed jersey. So, all right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Wes, and thank you, Albert. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Enjoy the game, everyone.